BRRR explained in plain English. Now, before I get into the full video, obviously what I'd like you to do is, so I know who's watching this video and so on, please make sure you hit the subscribe button because it's about 80% of the people that watch these videos are not subscribers. So do me a favor, again, if you're serious about your property investment journey and if you're serious about growing your wealth and also your passive income, then make sure you hit the subscribe button, all right? Now, BRRR, like I said, plain English video, all right, as opposed to another language. So, buy, refurbish, rent, refinance. Okay. Now, again, I'm just going to go off on a slight tangent. I do this a lot of my videos. And again, if you're one of my mentees watching this, you know what I do. I like to switch those last two R's around. So, traditionally, or obviously, it's buy, refurbish, rent, then refinance. But our experience has shown that when we switch these two R's around, that we tend to get a better valuation. So obviously what we do is buy, refurbish, refinance, and then rent it out. So one of the main reasons we do that is because we want to make sure that when valuer comes round, that the property is in absolute pristine condition. Obviously, we've done normally a full back to brick refurb, but obviously I want to make sure that the tenants aren't in there with, cluttering up boxes everywhere. Maybe a pet there. No, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I've got anything wrong against pets. I've got 3 pets, okay? 4 pets, in fact. No, sorry, 5. I want to make sure that the property is in absolute pristine condition and either myself or my wife are there to meet the valuer, okay? So imagine this. You've done this fantastic refurb. It's looking absolutely mint, brand new. A tenant goes in and then you've got the valuation booked for 3-4 weeks down the line. The valuer can't get in. You've organised the slot and the tenant's obviously gone out and said, oh, sorry, I forgot. Or the valuer knocks on the door, is there for 3-4-5 minutes and the tenant is negative with them. So just imagine now all those negative, what I referred to as touch points. You want to avoid all that. So for us, really, if a valuer is scheduled to come out at 11 o'clock in the morning, we want to make sure that we're there for 10:30, giving it a final little just triple check that everything's ready, making sure that it's all looking nice and smart. Anyway, let's get into the full nuts and bolts of this video if you're still with us. So, BRRR in plain English. Right, so what is BRRR? When you buy a property, when you refurbish a property, you then refinance it and then you rent it out, or again, switching those things around. Now, you've also got BRRR, which is buy the property, refurbish and rent. But again, you're not managing to pull any of your money out for that. So again, I mention this a lot on my blog, so check on the website as well. Have a look at my website, dervishdervish.com. That's my name. Have a look at the blog section. I know I do a lot on there about property investing, and they're always heavily tilted towards a BRRR strategy and so on. So just maybe read some of those as well. What you want to make sure you're doing is buying often a property that's either run down or might not even necessarily be run down, but as long as you're getting it at a decent enough price at the start so that you're pretty much locking in profit from day one. So that's one thing I always mention to my mentees. Of course, you earn money when you sell the property. Of course, you're going to earn money when you're renting out the property, but you want to make sure that you're locking in profit from day one. So again, I'm probably going to talk about this, our latest one that we've got on the go now. We purchased this for 75, okay? Now, again, that's relative. You don't know whether that's dear or anything like that. There's ones on the street selling for 130, 135 and 140. So we managed to purchase it at 75 because, and again, it was an absolute mess. Okay, it was mortgageable, but there was no gas central heating. There was no heating in the place. The bathroom, I say bathroom, the shower was in the same room as a double bed where the old chap was sleeping, and the toilet was in the other corner. It was an absolute all over the show, homemade DIY electrics. I mean, check out the videos on this channel. I think it's part of the, if you have a look from rec to refurb, no, sorry, from rec to rent ready series. So check it out and you can see how it's been getting on. But you need to make sure for you to do a BRRR that you need to be locking in the profit from day one. It's no good you buying a property at, I suppose I should have got my flip chart out and everything like that. Imagine you buy a property at 100,000 just for easy maths, but really the property is only worth 105,000. There's not enough margin in there. You need a lot of meat on the bone. You need to make sure that the profit is there. Even if certain things do go wrong, you need to make sure there's enough profit in the deal. So BRRR really, it's very powerful because it allows, you might have heard this saying before, momentum investing. So you put your 25% deposit in, again, that might be yours, it might be a JV's, whatever. You put that money in and then refurbed it. And then if you get a decent valuation, you should hopefully be able to pull a big chunk of that back out. Now, when we started investing in 2007, again, you don't know what you don't know. Another thing I tell my mentees, we just thought it was right. You put your deposit in and then you get your little cash flow, then you're just saving up for another lump sum. Then you put your deposit in and then you're just saving up again then. So that's why it was very, very slow in the early days. Definitely for the first 8 or 10 years, it was extremely slow because you've got this pot of money to get your 25%. You just dump it into a property and then that's it. You're just hoping that obviously the returns will come in and you get a decent tenant. With BRRR, you should, if you're doing things properly, and again, if you're educated, you should be putting enough money in at the start to then get 90% of it, 100%, maybe even 110% back out so you can go again and it'll speed up your journey. So it's a very powerful strategy, BRRR. Hopefully you're still with me. So a step-by-step breakdown would be, first of all, I've got to buy the property. Okay. I've then got to refurbish it. Now, the refurbishment, that could be a really big, not a grey area, a really big area in which you could lose a lot of money. You need to understand where and how much refurbishments cost. So the one that I'm currently doing at the moment now is just a 2-bed terraced, and we knew it'd be around about £27,000 because then it's pretty much a cookie cutter type of approach that we've done with quite a lot of our other portfolio, the ones that we keep. It needed full back to brick. It needed full new gas central heating, which includes 5 radiators, if I remember properly, brand new boiler, new kitchen, full new rewire, plastered throughout, new skirting boards, new woodwork, new internal doors, new front door. So it's pretty much had everything. So if you don't know how to calculate all those things, again, unless you're a tradesperson yourself and you know you can save a lot of money if you're a plumber, or a lot of money if you're a joiner or anything like that, you managing to calculate the refurb can really throw the deal off. All right. So if you think, right, I can get this property for 75, I can spend 10 grand on it and expect to bring it in at such a high level, it's not going to happen. You need to make sure you've got everything planned, ideally decent spreadsheets, knowing how much previous things have cost. And again, we can definitely provide you with access to all that type of stuff. So you're getting up-to-date information on this, how much it costs for, a full property to be plastered back to brick. This how much it costs for an up and over roof. This how much it costs to drop a chimney. This how much it costs to fit a new composite door. This how much it costs for this particular boiler, and so on. All right, so we need to understand that the refurbishment is a crucial part of it. Now, again, going on to the last 2 R's that we like to switch around, we do that because I want to make sure that the valuer comes round and can see, ideally, me and my wife. We're there on time. Obviously, the house is smelling nice. The house is looking nice. We're being friendly, polite, and so on. All those positive touch points. And that hopefully, we're going to get the valuation we want. Now, on the flip side, I think it was about 2.5 years ago, we'd done a 3-bed N7. No, sorry, it was a 3-bed N townhouse, loft conversion, fantastic. We had a right pen pusher for a valuer. Okay, had social skills were non-existent. Now, I'm not saying we go around and we start trying to be best mates with them, but there was absolutely nothing there at all. And lo and behold, we got valued. I think it was, we put in for 220, and this pen pusher said it's not worth no more than 180. Now, in that instance, and again, I know I'm going off track here, but again, you get this through tried and tested methods. We thought, right, well, we can either take that 180 or just lose that valuation fee and go with another valuer. So we decided to forget about that valuation fee, went with another lender who hopefully wasn't going to use the same lender, the same valuer. And again, they came out and valued it at 220. So if we would have stuck with that original lender, there's 40 grand difference there. And again, if you're refurbing, so if you're pulling a lot of money out, that's 75% of 40 grand. That's 7, 14, 21, 28, 20, £30,000 would have left on the table. So it's all about experience, like anything, really. Okay, so it is a super powerful strategy. This. Hopefully you're following it so far. Hopefully you've made notes and so on. I know I jump around a lot. It's just that I want to make sure you're trying to understand as much as you can about this. Do me a favor though, make sure you subscribe to this channel, okay? Need to make sure that you're subscribing so you're getting access. I think we're putting out at least a couple of videos a week now on this channel, especially for you property investors. And again, if you're interested in mentorship, have a look at our website, dervishdervish.com, and have a look at the Black Belt Property Academy. And on a side note, I think I may have mentioned this before, there are a few tips and strategies in there. That was my first book. Specifically, obviously, that was my first business that we ever built up that was obviously quite successful. So there may be a few tips and strategies in there for business owners, entrepreneurs about time management, efficiency, operations, marketing, organization, and again mindset. So maybe have a invest in that. How to build a highly profitable martial arts school. Yes, you're an entrepreneur. Yes, you're a property investor, but they're still going to get some information out of that. The next book is going to be out early 2026. So if you're watching this, hopefully March onwards in 2026, that book should be out. So have a look at that book as well. That's specific to property investors, okay? Based on obviously the Black Belt Property Academy. That's our mentorship program. What else have I got on my list there now? Common mistakes to avoid, really. Over specking the refurb. So again, if you're looking to pull out as much money as possible, it's got a brand new kitchen, it's got a brand new bathroom, brand new front door, everything's looking nice and neat. I wouldn't go from spending £3 on a Howden's kitchen to then suddenly fitting a 15 grand kitchen. Likewise for the bathroom, I won't go spending my normal £3 spec to then suddenly spending 10. You're not going to recoup that money unless, and here's a caveat, okay, unless it's a very high-end property that you're doing. And I'm talking like a 4-bed detached, extension and so on, and you really want to push it, then yes, of course, the ceiling's there. But if it's a 2-bed terrace, which a lot of our stock is, you need to pitch it to that particular level, all right? So don't be over-specking. That's definitely one pitfall. Another pitfall is as soon as you pick up the keys, you've overpaid for it. Never get into a bidding war. Always have, and again, have a look at some of the other videos I've done. You need to have 3 prices for the property that you're going to go up to. So for this property now that we purchased at 75, we were going to go up to a maximum of 83,750, something like that. Absolute maximum, because experience again tells you that you may have planned the refurb as best as possible, but things happen. So on this refurb, there's an extra 1350 spent because it made more sense to drop the chimney rather than just try and point it up and that type of stuff. So we just thought we'd get rid of the chimney. So that was into the budget. So you just need to be aware now that this, out of those 3 prices, this is my first offer. Then I've got a second offer. Then I've got my third and final offer. I'm not going to get carried away, especially if those of you that might have a JV partner lined up, or you might have a nice pot of savings, okay, that you want to invest. Fantastic. That's a key for when you're having auction purchases. Do not get caught in the emotions of the room or online now. Have your final cut-off point and then that's it, okay? Always think to yourself there's going to be more properties available. Yes, that one might have fantastic numbers, but you don't want to overpay, ever, unless you know something that other people don't. What else is on my list here now? Choosing the wrong area. So if I keep looking up there, because again, I could talk about this for hours. Choosing the wrong area. So if you're going to buy a property and you think, right, I am going to do the BRRR. Again, I'm just going to go over it again. I'm going to buy the property. I'm going to refurbish the property. I'm going to rent the property out. I'm going to refinance it, or the other way around. There needs to be rental demand for it. So it's highly unlikely that you're going to have a high demand for a 5 or 6 bed detached property to rent. Okay, I'm not saying it can't be done. Definitely. One of my closest friends has just rented out his home, and that's 4, I think it's 4, maybe a 5 bed, lovely property. Okay, I think he's getting about £2,700 a month for that. But when you're looking at the bell curve, okay, it's that end of the bell curve. For us, we want to make sure we're right in the middle, where lots of people will always want 2-bed terraces or 3-bed townhouses or anything like that, because that's like a nice area to be in. We want to make sure that there's always people wanting our properties. So you need to make sure that if you are doing the BRRR, that there is somebody to rent it to at the end. And again, I don't want to be going too deep into it, but If the property's worth 400,000, none of our properties are worth 400,000. If the property's worth 400,000, you might think, right, well, I'm going to pull 75% of it out. 7, 14, 21, 28, 29, £300,000 I'm going to pull out. I'm going to leave 100 grand in. You've got to then make sure that the rent covers easily 125% of the mortgage. So I'm not going to go into that too much. I'm sure I've done a different video on that before, but don't always think I'm going to buy this house. I'm going to push it up to 400, 450, whatever. I'm going to be able to pull 75% of my money out, because the lender will always require you to have 25% in of like skin in the game. Maybe if you're going to push it to 80%, still 20% of money in that property, because obviously they want to hedge their bets. So they're only going to lend you based on how much rents that you can get back in. And then the mortgage payment, the rent needs to be at least 125, 130% more of that. So again, going back to this example that we're doing now at the moment, and it should be finished this coming Wednesday, which is fantastic, and it'll be set and forget, hopefully, touch wood. That's going to rent, we're going to try and push a ceiling for that, really. That's going to try and rent for 875. Now, if we get 850, it's still done very well, but if we get 825, it's still better than nothing. However, that 825 needs to be 125% of what the mortgage will cost. So the mortgage is what we're looking at. We're looking to go with Precise. Again, if you need any help with that type of stuff, again, this is all advice. I'm not, an accountant. I'm not a tax advisor. I'm not a mortgage broker or anything like that. I'm giving you advice on things that we've learned coming up to 20 years now. You want to make sure that, like I said, Precise now, I think we did the figures last week. The mortgage is about £410, £412, depending on which products we're going on. So let's say, for instance, it's now £400. The lender will require 125% of the mortgage to be rent. So if it was £400, times that by 1.25. So you're looking, the rent needs to be at least 550 or whatever it is. I apologise, I haven't got my calculator. It's easily going to breeze past that. As I said, we're hopefully going to get 875/850, maybe at worst case 825. But hopefully we can push through the ceiling, because it's an absolute turnkey, brand new property. What else can I mention about it? BRRR, really. It works best, like I said, in areas where there's going to be demand. There's areas where that property should be able to rent like that. And the most important thing, again, I know there's lots, you've got to purchase it at the right price. Don't get carried away, especially when the agent says, oh, it's fantastic, it's X yield. When they're talking about gross yield and net yield, and again, there's a big chapter about this in the upcoming book, really. And again, have a look on the website as well. Check some of the blogs out. I know I've done some on gross yield and net yield. Maybe even other videos I've done on gross yield and net yield. Those are all fantastic metrics. But for us as investors, and again, lots of my mentees, we're more bothered about return on capital employed. I don't just want to drop 25 grand into a 100 grand property and then be happy with a 6 or 7% return, which is far better than interest rates. And again, it's an edge against inflation. I want to make sure that my money is really working hard. So I want to pull as much of my money back out and leave as little in as possible, so that that little money is working extremely hard for that return. So again, if you haven't heard me say that before, check out another video. There should be one in here. Return on capital employed. ROAS, fantastic metric if you're doing the BRRR. I think that's it really for today. Now, I know I jump around a lot, but again, it's just a subject that I know a lot about. I'm passionate because when it's done properly, it's fantastic. You could build your pot. You might only want to do one a year, whatever. One a year over 10 years is still 10 properties at the end of a decade. But some of you might want to go a bit quicker, do 2 a year. Again, 20 at the end of 10 years. Some of you might want to go, right, do you know what? I want to do 3, 4, 5. It's entirely up to you. For me, I want to make sure that I'm being able to put my head on the pillow at night and go, yeah, we're managing, we're doing okay. The portfolio's doing well, cash is coming in, the wealth is being built up. I don't want to be running around like a headless chicken having 20 projects on the go at once, all right? The maximum we ever have on the go at once is 3, because I value my time with my kids and obviously my family and so on. So you just always got to think to yourself, you're going to see other investors out there that have got, 10, 15 projects on the go. Fantastic. Entirely up to you. But for me, from building a very noisy business from 2004 to obviously 20 years after 2024, I know the toll it takes. And I'm happy now to obviously keep developing the properties, because I know that the wealth piece is there. the passive income piece is there. Inflation's eroding away that good debt as well. So it's just always you. You need to pull it back to, I'm going down the mental route now, aren't I? You need to pull it back to your why. What's your why for getting into property? Is it to leave your 9 to 5? Fantastic. Is it to start your own business? Fantastic. Is it to increase your passive income? Again, all brilliant stuff. Is it you're lucky enough to have a good bit of money in the bank and you want to, invest it? Fantastic. All right. But it's down to you and what you want, not what somebody else wants. And you think that's what you want as well. It's entirely up to you. It's your life, it's your goals and so on. So I hope that in some way helps people. Maybe have a look at the video again, maybe write a few things down. But yeah, BRRR is amazing for, momentum investing, recycling your money. You'll hear a lot of people talk about that, and improving your return on your cash employed, and again, allowing you to go again and go again. So if you're serious, and again, you want to learn and you want to be part of a small mentorship group, I'm not talking 900 people on a call or anything like that. I'm talking, a nice group of people that are wanting to do well, that are all aiming to do better and better and better and improve their life and the family's life. Then obviously check out the website, maybe inquire into the Black Belt Property Academy. And again, we might be lucky enough to have a chat. All right. The website is dervish.com. That's my name. All right. And one more thing, like I said, if you wanted to invest in a copy of that, maybe get that on Amazon, the first book. And if you're watching this after, probably early 26, so March 2026, the other property investing book should be out, and there's going to be lots of information in there as well. Listen, thank you very much for watching. I don't know how far we're into it now, 21 minutes. Wow. If you watch this far, you are definitely hardcore, okay? Keep getting up, keep showing up, keep taking steps further forward. And remember, you're in your lane, okay? And I know it's hard to think, right, well, I'm going to do SA, I'm going to do HMO, I'm going to do title splits, I'm going to do flips. I want to drive a Lambo next week and that type of stuff. You just think, what do you want to achieve? What's going to be best for you and your family? And then start to take it a step further forward. Like I said, please subscribe and keep going, okay? Good luck. All the best.